Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Folks will continue to trickle in, but I wanted to start by introducing myself. My name is Myra Norton. I have the distinct pleasure of supporting and working with innovators and entrepreneurs of all sorts, students here at Johns Hopkins, faculty, alumni, community change makers in Baltimore. And I've been doing this work here at Hopkins for a little over a year. But for the last 18 years, I helped to co-found and lead 2 startups myself. So I have been in the shoes of our presenters today and have the scars to prove it. And am really excited to be a part of this event. I was here last year. I got to kick off last year's event. I think I was maybe a month into the gig, and it's been one of my favorite events so far here. So first of all, happy Women's Entrepreneurship Day. If you didn't know, that's today. So it's a pretty opportune time for us to be hosting this event. For those of you that don't know a little bit of the history here, part of why, and this predates me obviously, but the good folks here at JHTV decided this was an important event for us to host and support, is a report that came out from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office in 2019 that showed that while women make up, more than half of the workforce, et cetera, less than 13% of inventor patentees are women. And for those of you who have been in the venture capital world or have tried to raise money, somewhere around 2%, less than 3% of venture dollars go to women founders. So we at JHTV want to move the needle on that by running programs like this, supporting entrepreneurs of all sorts, really leaning in to particularly support women entrepreneurs. So leading up to this event, as we have every year, we had a ton of applicants from across the Hopkins ecosystem, and you're going to get to hear from the 3 incredible women who were selected. In the weeks leading up to today, they've worked with the team here at JHTV. I have gone through some pitch coaching and just support in terms of getting ready for today, and I can just tell you, you're going to be really it's going to be a joy to hear what each of them is doing. They're each inspiring in their own ways. I'd also like to take a minute to thank the women of our JHTV Idea Board who graciously are supporting this event and the $20,000 prize that the winner today will be receiving to support their venture. Okay. We have 2 incredible pitch coaches, so I'm going to do a brief introduction for each of them. The first is Colleen Cutcliffe. Colleen, you want to just wave to folks? Colleen is the CEO and co-founder of Pendulum Therapeutics. She has over 20 years of experience managing and leading teams in biotech, pharma, and academia. Before starting Pendulum, Colleen served as the senior manager of biology at Pacific Biosciences. Prior to that, Colleen was a scientist at Elon Pharmaceuticals, completed her postdoctoral research at Northwestern's Children's Memorial Hospital, received her PhD in biochemistry and molecular biology from Johns Hopkins University, and received her BA in biochemistry from Wellesley College. So, she's kind of an underachiever. Colleen, we thank you for being here today. And if you don't know about Pendulum, you need to Google them and learn about what Colleen's doing. It's pretty exciting. We also have Gayathri Badrinath, who is the founder and CEO of Devon, a company using digital solutions to simplify gestational diabetes and improve access to evidence-based education. With experience across biopharma, medical devices, and health tech, she has a unique understanding of the barriers and opportunities to better health. Prior to her entrepreneurial ventures, Gayathri spent more than 20 years in roles of increasing responsibility in global healthcare organizations. Most recently, she led marketing for Siemens Healthineers Services, focused on developing innovative business models and digital health solutions to compete in a value-based care environment. Gayathri earned her BA in Natural Science and Public Health from the Johns Hopkins University and an MBA from the University of California, Berkeley Haas School of Business, another underachiever. We thank you very much, Gayathri, for being here. I want to wave to folks so they can see you. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Liz Berger, who's going to serve as MC for the pitches. And what's going to happen here, you'll hear 3 pitches. Liz will take us through the logistics, and I just encourage you to sit back and enjoy.
Thank you, Myra. So we've got 53 minutes. We're going to have, as Myra said, 3 pitches. Each one will last 10 minutes. I will have the job of cutting folks off at a hard 10 minutes in the interest of making sure everyone gets their time and so that we have time for some great feedback from our coaches. They'll each provide 5 minutes of feedback. You all are welcome to put questions and comments in the chat. Just note that in the interest of time, we won't have a chance to address them, but hopefully our presenters will follow up with those of you who want to offer your feedback and support. I am going to ask now if Selena is ready to get started. Can you wave, Selena, if you're ready?
Yep,
Awesome.
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm gonna let Selena take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Liz. Hi, everyone. My name is Selena Shirkin. I'm a biomedical engineering graduate student here at Hopkins, and I'm also the founder of Fetal Therapy Technologies. 3.5 million babies in the US are born every year. But for many mothers, the journey to childbirth isn't always easy. In fact, 120,000 babies in the US are born with a birth defect each year. But what happens in the worst case scenario when your baby develops a life-threatening birth defect while it's still inside the womb? Well, today I'm here to tell you that we have the power to repair these life-threatening birth defects before a baby is even born. Fetal surgery is a groundbreaking way to operate on a baby while it's still inside the mother, allowing surgeons to repair these life-threatening birth defects before a baby is even born. But how do we do this? Well, first, surgeons need to access the uterine environment. To access the uterus, surgeons use a device called an entry port system, as shown here, which serves as a tunnel into the uterine environment, allowing them to insert their devices and perform the procedure. This port system is used in all fetal surgical procedures to access the uterine environment and perform the surgery. However, these life-changing procedures don't always have successful outcomes because of failures in current fetal surgical instrumentation. The current entry port system that's used to gain entry into the uterus and perform these procedures is a plastic sheath meant for use in vascular surgery. This technology is not meant or approved for use in the complex and delicate uterine environment. Working with this instrument is like operating with bubblegum and Band-Aids. It just doesn't work. We've actually proven the failure modes of this device. We've shown in our own research that the insertion of this current port system can actually push away the amniotic membrane, or the innermost, most fragile layer of the uterine environment, away from the uterine wall, and it can also capture microchunks of the uterine environment upon insertion. These signs of physical damage might indicate that this device is completely inadequate for these procedures. Working with these inadequate devices causes a 40% rate of complications in all fetal surgical procedures. These complications usually result in preterm birth because fetal surgery is performed between 20 and 25 weeks of gestation before a baby is fully developed. This means that 3,000 mothers and their babies are at risk of life-threatening preterm birth when undergoing these life-saving procedures. Digging into this a bit further, we know that in 60% of these surgeries, they're successful and mothers deliver around 34 to 38 weeks, costing on average about $43,000. But in the 40% of times where preterm birth complications occur, mothers require emergency hospitalization and emergency delivery for their babies, costing up to $150,000. This 60-40 split is basically the flip of a coin for your child's life. By improving the safety of these procedures, we have the potential to save $85,000 per surgery. So how do we fix such a massive problem? Making these surgeries safer means giving clinicians the right tools to perform them. That's why we've partnered directly with the Johns Hopkins Center for Fetal Therapy in engineering a patent-pending entry port system optimized for the uterine environment, allowing surgeons to have safe access into the uterus to perform these procedures. Our port system consists of 2 parts. The first is an insertion needle or obturator, and the second is a radially expanding port sheath. Our insertion needle is optimized to cut through the layers of the tissue in the uterine environment with minimal force, minimizing damage, and has an ergonomic handle that allows surgeons to control the trajectory of their insertion needle. Most importantly, our port system leverages the elastic properties of the uterine environment, being able to radially expand upon insertion. In this way, surgeons can insert our device at the minimum operating diameter of 2 millimeters and radially expand our port system to the maximum operating diameter of 4 millimeters as needed during surgery. When the surgery is complete, surgeons can remove their devices and our port system will shrink down to the original 2 millimeter size, creating the smallest hole possible with minimal damage, while fitting in the full range of fetal surgical instrumentation through one port system. The novelty and potential of our port system device lies in its status as the first port system meant for use in the uterine environment. No other technology works to prevent damage to the uterus like ours does. While other devices have been made, like patches or plugs, none of these have actually fit into current practice because they've never improved surgical outcomes. Our port system is optimized for the uterine environment, drastically improves procedural safety, and fits into the current clinical workflow. As Hopkins students, we own our intellectual property. We've already filed for a provisional patent with plans to convert into a full utility patent by March 2025. Now, in the process of developing our fetal care port system, we've realized there's no accurate or standardized model of the uterine environment for us to test our device on, or for clinicians to practice their port insertion techniques. We've actually seen clinicians get really creative when it comes to testing their techniques for these procedures, even using things like dodgeballs to act as uteruses. So because of this, we've actually created our own accurate benchtop uterine training simulator. This is known as our fetal care uterine training simulator and used for us to practice port insertions with clinicians and also to test our devices. Now, in the process of developing our fetal care port system, once we develop that port system and create safe access into the uterine environment, we can then commercialize and develop an entire suite of surgical tools to operate within our port system and be tested on our uterine model. These tools, like the fetal care suture or fetal care shunt, will be optimized for the uterine environment and operate through our port sheath, allowing us to control the safety and workflow of an entire fetal surgery. Together, these three products combine into making us a platform microsurgical device company dedicated to enhancing the safety and effectiveness of fetal surgery. Our fetal care port system can be targeted to the 59 fetal therapy centers in the US. Our model can also be sold to hospital facilities and medical schools with trainees. And our fetal care suite of surgical products can be sold to both fetal therapy centers and minimally invasive surgical centers in the US. Together, these three revenues combine to create an $80 million annual recurring revenue for our company. With this comprehensive suite of products, we are one of the only companies pushing fetal surgical innovation in this market. Now, taking a step back, all physical birth defects have the potential to be treated in utero through fetal surgery. But because of the complication rate in the field today, only 5 of the most severe birth defects can be practically addressed using fetal intervention. But by improving the safety of fetal surgeries, we have the power to expand the range of treatable physical birth defects in utero with fetal surgeries, tapping into an $82 million market in the US and a $4.5 billion market globally. With our fetal care port system optimized for the uterine environment that drastically improves the safety of these procedures, coupled with our suite of fetal surgical instrumentation to operate within this port sheath, and our uterine training model that allows for training of these port insertions and device insertions, coupled with our groundbreaking research in this space, the first of which has proven the failure modes of the current device, we are not just a simple medtech startup. We are a platform microsurgical device company dedicated to improving the safety and effectiveness of all fetal surgical procedures. Now, I've mentioned we're a platform microsurgical device company, but this is definitely a multi-million-dollar timeline. This slide only shows some of the core research and development, regulatory, and funding milestones that we need to reach the market by 2028. That's why throughout the process of developing our products, testing them, and going through FDA approval, we anticipate making regular discoveries and filing additional IP every year. This year alone, we filed our first provisional patent and are about to publish our first groundbreaking publication within this space. We also plan to launch sales of our uterine model in 2025, creating an alternative revenue stream that does not require FDA approval. In this way, we can end our go-to-market strategy with at least 2 products and 5 groundbreaking publications within this space, having huge impacts. So I've shown you our multi-million-dollar timeline, but let me show you what $20,000 can do for us. With $10,000, we can fund our utility patent filing and initial prosecution fees. With $2,000, we can fund our placenta verification testing and finalize our port system design. And with $8,000, we can create a professionally machined fetal care port system and fetal care uterine model products. In regards to our research and development, we currently have 2 minimum viable product prototypes of both our fetal care port system and our fetal care uterine training model, both of which have been tested by clinicians to ensure accuracy and workflow compatibility. We also have 2 publications. The first is coming out in the fall that we've completed, and the second hopefully is coming out within the spring. In regards to our funding, we've raised about $55,000 in non-dilutive funding currently through a variety of pitch competitions and grants. And right now, we're targeting large-scale NIH or SBIR grants for my co-founder and I to support ourselves post-graduation. We're fortunate enough to be mentored by a wide variety of clinical, technical, and business mentors across the Johns Hopkins Center for Fetal Therapy, the Biomedical Engineering Department, and the PAVA Center for Entrepreneurship. Our team consists of 6 graduate and undergraduate biomedical engineering students. Together, we have 4 years of business development, 6 in product creation, and 7 in research, making us the perfect team to tackle this problem. Now, on a personal note, I'm incredibly passionate about this venture because I myself was born very premature at just 28 weeks of gestation and had to spend the first 3 months of my life in the NICU. Now, my team and I are developing technologies to prevent other families from going through what I had to go through. Please join us as we reimagine the future of fetal medicine. Thank you so much for your time today.
Selena, I'm gonna have to clap for 209 other people. Our congratulations, that was wonderful. Colleen, I'm gonna ask you to head off our 5 minutes of coach comments, please.
Sure. First of all, great presentation, Selena, and I love your idea and your personal story. So really awesome to see you bringing this to life. I thought that you had a great opener, really clear and articulate, and I like that you took your time. Sometimes people kind of race through these and speed talk, and so you did a good job of pacing your time. I also really thought it was great that you showed some quantitative data on kind of the fails with the current products that are out there and how those translate to a quantitative opportunity for the product that you're building. So all really awesome. I think some questions are in terms of the pricing, what does that comparative pricing look like when you kind of put it up against the other products that are out there right now? I think also IP, it would be nice to show if there's some protection that helps kind of keep you covered. Sorry if I missed that, you might have had that in there. Another thing that is helpful, I think, when you're giving a presentation on a new technology or an improvement to the old technology is, why hasn't this been done before? What is kind of the new insight that leads you to this, this new opportunity? I think it would be interesting when you talk about kind of the improvement that you're bringing is, usability, safety, and presumably that leads to better efficacy ultimately. And you've created this sort of testing model. I love your, actual model for testing your product. I think it'd be interesting to do a head-to-head with the other products that are out there as a way to demonstrate, how yours is actually going to have more usability and safety. And the target audience that you're going after, you kind of listed the number of hospitals, having those people be the testers. And so if you said something like, 200 surgeons tested this and, these are the outcomes, that's really compelling for showing how your product is better than all the things that are on the market today. And then the last note I have was on really digging into safety and liability. I think that's sort of a double click on the business, but obviously this is a really fragile situation. And so, how do you think about safety, ensuring safety? And then also as a company, there's probably some significant things you have to do to think about liability kind of tied to that. So, but that was it. But I thought it was a really great presentation. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for those comments, Colleen.
Right, Gayathri, do you want to chime in? And by the way, I hope that Selena, after we move on to our next presentation, you'll look at the chat. There's some additional good feedback and questions. Gayathri?
Yeah, Selena, that was absolutely fantastic. I worked in the medical device space for quite a good portion of my life, and I can say one thing that really excited me about your approach is the platform approach. I think just fundamentally, when you can get access to areas of the body we couldn't get access to before effectively, that can open up a wealth of opportunities. I am curious to know how much average fetal therapy surgeries cost. To me, it would be my sense is it could be very expensive, and your pricing sounds quite low. actually, and I would say think about some different innovative approaches on how you do pricing. You're looking at preterm delivery, it looks like, for an outcome you're tying to. I think there's a lot of opportunity here as you think about the development of fetal surgery programs across the country. I know from my experience in starting Devon, women are now, while the birth rate is going down, women are much higher risk entering pregnancy. And so that's the number of preterm deliveries. Just in general, the risk of the birthing process is much higher than it's ever been before, and still on an upper trajectory. So I think what you're doing, and what excites me about what you're doing, is the platform approach. I think similar to what Colleen said, is also just really tightening your patent strategy. I think that's very important, especially when it comes to access devices, because those can be a little bit harder. What does that patent approach look like? And then how does that waterfall into the different other therapeutic devices that you might have? And I think the regulatory strategy can be very different for an access device versus the therapeutic devices, and your publication strategy and such could be. So I guess in short, I would recommend definitely look at the overall pricing of the fetal surgeries, how much tend to get reimbursed, not reimbursed, and what the contribution of that is to overall health system profiles. I think you might actually see a lot of opportunity there. And I can just speak from my experience in starting valve centers, right? Valve centers didn't exist for a while until we can actually get catheter-based access to the valves in the heart. And so you have a huge amount of opportunity, and I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you so much. Okay, I hate to cut it off. I'm sure there's a lot more we could talk about, but I would now like to introduce Mary Austin, who's going to give our second pitch. Mary, take it away. Mary, we cannot hear you. We don't want to miss a word.
Sorry, I'm starting
That's
from the
okay.
top.
Yeah, please start from the top. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Hi, my name is Mary Austin. I'm an assistant professor of physical medicine and rehabilitation in the School of Medicine, and clinically I practice as a pelvic health physical therapist. For the past 15 years, I've worked with countless women who experience urinary leakage. I've seen firsthand the significant physical limitations it imposes and the mental toll it takes on them. I knew there had to be a better option, prompting me to found UrInControl, where we're on a mission to help women stay on the move with confidence. I'd like to introduce you to a few women. Allison is a 20-year-old soccer player, Rhea is a new mom who has just returned to work, and Julie is an avid hiker and new empty nester. And what they all have in common is that they all experience urinary leakage with their preferred exercise. Allison thinks, I'm 20, aren't I too young for this? She's embarrassed to bring it up with her teammates or coach and plays through it. Rhea's feeling overwhelmed, balancing the demands of returning to work and being a new mom. She's looking forward to returning to running, but quickly becomes defeated when every time she runs, she soaks through her underwear or shorts, so she stops running altogether. And Julie has really been looking forward to this new phase where she finally has time and resources to take some long trips. But she quickly becomes discouraged as she trains for some long hikes and realizes she needs to bring a change of clothes with her. She starts to second guess and thinks, maybe I can't do what I used to. Stress urinary incontinence, or SUI, is defined as the involuntary leakage of urine with physical exertion, such as coughing, laughing, sneezing, or with exercise. So why does this occur? As you can see on the left, in someone who is dry or does not experience leakage, the bladder and urethra are well supported or compressed. This occurs through good support through ligaments and pelvic floor muscles. In the picture on the right, in someone who experiences stress incontinence, you can see that the urethra and bladder are not well supported. When there's an increase in pressure from physical exertion, that results in urine leakage. Risk factors associated with stress incontinence include number of pregnancies and deliveries, a history of prior pelvic procedures, high physical activity, in particular repetitive impact exercise, and tissue changes associated with normal aging and hormonal changes. So just how prevalent is this? Very. 1 in 3 women are reported to have stress incontinence at some point in their life, and that number only increases with age. Yet, despite that high number, only 45% of women will seek treatment for their condition. Why is that? Well, unfortunately, many women still don't talk about stress incontinence, even among their friends, or bring it up with their healthcare provider, and they simply aren't aware of the treatment options that exist. As of 2022, there are reported to be 30 million women over the age of 20 in the United States who suffer from stress incontinence. This translates to $12 billion in annual healthcare costs for stress incontinence, compared to $8.9 billion for reference in the US for breast cancer. Let's get back to Allison, Rhea, and Julie. What options currently exist to treat their stress incontinence? The most common solution that women are familiar with are pads or adult diapers. As you can imagine, most women do not want to sit in, let alone exercise in, a wet pad. And if used on a regular basis, this is an expensive and recurrent cost, and they're disposable, not being an environmentally friendly option. Pelvic physical therapy, while effective for mild or moderate stress urinary incontinence, is time-consuming, requires access to specialty care providers, and the effectiveness depends on patient compliance. A pessary is a vaginal orthotic that is placed inside the vagina and applies support to the bladder and urethra. Again, while effective for mild to moderate urinary incontinence, requires access to and fitting by a specialty care provider. Also, traditional pessaries are commonly difficult to insert and remove, regularly limiting patient compliance in their use. There is an over-the-counter disposable pessary. It is inserted as similar to the other pessary in the vagina, similar to a tampon form, and applies a little pressure to the urethra. Again, while effective for mild or moderate urinary incontinence, it's expensive. A box of 20 inserts is typically $35. So imagine if you use that on a regular basis, that cost is going to add up, not to mention they're single use and disposable. Surgery for stress urinary incontinence typically involves placement of a mesh sling around the base of the bladder and around the urethra. While effective, it's typically reserved for more moderate or severe symptoms. As you can imagine, it's surgery. It's invasive, it's expensive, requires time off work, and it's not an option for women who would like to have more children in the future. Which brings us to our solution. Our solution is an over-the-counter pessary that will be reusable, made out of medical-grade silicone. It will have a familiar form similar to a tampon, yet it will have that added extra support to compress against the urethra during increased activity. It will not require fitting by a specialist. Our goal is to have it available over the counter at local retailers and online, and it will be easy to insert and remove. When you look at the competitive landscape at the previous options I showed you, our device checks all the boxes. We'll provide effective leakage control for mild to moderate urinary incontinence. It will be convenient, available for women who don't have access to specialty care. It will be discreet and have a similar form to a tampon, making it a little more easy for women to relate to and use. It will be affordable, and it will be environmentally friendly. When we look at stakeholders for our device, our primary target is women with stress urinary incontinence. Our goal is to provide them a convenient, effective, and sustainable option for urine control. We aim to partner with healthcare professionals who will be making recommendations for care options to these women and hope to improve patient accessibility and compliance with treatment. And from a societal standpoint, we really hope to reduce the stigma associated with urinary incontinence and help women keep moving. Far too often, women who experience leakage stop exercising altogether, which has mental health effects and other health effects. From a business model standpoint, we aim to start our unit pricing at $50 per unit. Our scale production costs will be $5 per unit, yielding us a very high gross profit margin of 90%. For sales, we aim to target distributor and retailer partnerships. We hope to have a very high social media engagement on various platforms. We'll offer online sales through our website, and as mentioned previously, engage with referring providers. Because our device is made of medical-grade silicone, it will have a 5-year shelf life. And by 2030, we project to have $100 million in annual recurring revenue. When we look at market sizing, we based our market off of women in the US aged 20 to 54 who experience urinary incontinence, specifically stress incontinence, yielding our total addressable market at $742 million. Our serviceable addressable market we narrowed down to women aged 20 to 54 with stress incontinence who have had children at 601, and we targeted our serviceable obtainable market at 50% of our SAM at $300 million. For the past year, we have been developing prototypes with biomedical engineering students. We're currently in prototype testing phase right now in Q4, and our team is currently enrolled in I-Corps through Johns Hopkins Tech Ventures. In Q1 of 2025, we aim to file our patent and manufacture our prototype and samples to enable a clinical trial to test for efficacy and validation clearance. And by Q1 of 2026, our target is to be able to large-scale manufacture and partner with distributors at that time. Our team took second place in HopStart this past spring. We were recently accepted into the Venture Well Accelerated program. As I mentioned, we're enrolled in I-Corps currently. If we were to be selected today, the award funding would be pivotal for our team and really enable fine-tuning consulting of our prototype and manufacturing, pairing with a local Baltimore-based biomedical engineering company, and enable that clinical trial to get off to start. We also plan to apply for the Maryland Innovation Initiative through TEDCO this spring, and long-term would seek out SBIR grant funding. This project would not be possible without this amazing team of biomedical engineering students and advisors. We hope you will invest in UrInControl and help women stay on the move with confidence by providing an accessible, affordable, and sustainable treatment option. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. This is a very humbling, humbling hour. You were amazing. A second phenomenal presentation. This time I'm going to ask if Gayathri wants to start our questions.
That was great, Mary. I think this is a super, super interesting market. I actually think the market is much, much bigger than what you've characterized. Yeah, I wouldn't big TAMs are great when you're ready to start marketing, and especially this market is gigantic. Pretty much any woman that's given birth at any point in her life. And I'm just curious why you cut it off at 54.
Well, we thought about menopausal and tissue changes and things like that, but I agree. And actually, the more I've been doing customer discovery, the more I'm realizing it's bigger.
Yeah, I would go well past 54. I think you have some interesting opportunities to think about. We're starting to see some good examples of conditions that have a lot of stigma associated with them, and being able to break those markets. I think one of the first was erectile dysfunction. A lot of the advertising in that market, but actually what really broke that market was the telehealth distribution and the ability to reduce the stigma in that process. So think about that. Think about how menopause right now also. Yeah, those are great opportunities. I think some of the things that I would love to see, this market is starting to get very competitive. There are actually several companies that are developing disposable pessaries. I don't know if you talked about your regulatory pathway. If you need to get FDA clearance to do this, if that's part of your plan. I would talk a little bit more and be able to answer questions around the competitiveness of this market and why you would be differentiated from some of the other players. It may not be a product specific differentiation, but maybe there's a go-to-market differentiation. I think if I noticed correctly, your pricing is a one-time.
Right, depending on how long we decide.
Yeah, those are tough businesses to raise money for. You have a huge TAM, so that's really attractive. But think about do you want to offer solutions to clean the pessary, right?
Yes, we've considered that.
Yeah, well, I think it creates more of an opportunity for an ongoing relationship with that customer, and recurring revenue. In that particular market. So I guess my feedback is around one-time pricing and building out this business. The business could be a lot bigger if you think about what that relationship with the customer looks like. And I was really struck by the cost. I thought that was a really good comparison you made about the 12 billion. I would love to know what's in that 12 billion versus I thought the comparison to the breast cancer at 8.9 million was really interesting, because I think it's, again, one of those things that was not well understood about menopause was how much money the system was spending around people going back and having clinical appointments and checking for symptoms. I think you're going to have to do a lot of education when we start pitching this around why this costs the system, and think about those costs in terms of ones that could be alleviated with what you are making, and ones that aren't related. to it. So I think, but overall, I was really impressed. I think this is a huge market and a huge opportunity. And it's great to see innovation here.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Colleen, would you like to chime in?
Sure. I mean, I agree with a lot of the things that have already been pointed out, so I won't reiterate them. First of all, I love the name, super clever. And I thought you did a great job of giving examples of case studies. And I just wonder, along the lines of the name, if there's an opportunity to bring humor into this whole thing. I mean, I think of 12,000 jokes right out of the gates, but I feel like part of killing a stigma is actually making it funny, and pissing your pants, it really doesn't get funnier than that. So I feel like there's an opportunity to bring humor in, especially because you're going after a consumer market as opposed to doctors. I think that this is all the stuff that I think could really appeal. And along those lines, because your idea is to have it be OTC, it might be interesting to get some consumer marketing data in. So what are consumers experiencing now? If you show them this prototype, how do they respond to it? And you can start to get, I think, drum up some real excitement, interest, as well as just get some direct feedback on what do I like or not like about it that can help you as you're moving forward in the prototype process. I thought you did a great job of outlining the current non-surgical opportunities and the current non-surgical solutions and their issues. And I think there's an opportunity to talk about the quantification, like how much are people currently spending? And if you were to take that market share, then what does that immediately look like for you out of the gates? Not to mention the even larger opportunity of people that you can go after. And then similar to, I think, some of the earlier and even some of the things in the chat, I think there's an opportunity to go after the first target audience being really about either menopause. Menopause is definitely having a moment right now. And so I think, if you can go after that market, you can start to capitalize on an already existing momentum there. And then also right after birth, because now you have a group of people who are like proactively looking for solutions to this, and they don't have time, right? They have busy schedules. And so I think those could be really appealing first target audiences. And then the last thing is, something similar around the idea of, continuing to engage your customers. So in some ways, you've got this great environmentally friendly product, and the downside of that is you have no repurchase rate to be able to go after them. So I think there's maybe an opportunity to think about, even if the current things out there like pads, they last a few hours. I mean, even if yours was a week, that gives you, or a month, like I might think about where's the right point between, wherever the amount of time is now and then the current solutions out there to give you an opportunity to get like a repurchase rate in there, recurring revenue. But otherwise, I thought it was a super cool idea and lots of big market opportunities. I agree. It's probably even bigger than what you got in the presentation. So really exciting.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jordan, you want to take us home? Our third and final presentation.
Sure thing. Okay, hi everyone. We are Visilent, and we're working to enable equitable access to eye care through telemedicine and AI. My name is Jordan. I'm the CEO and co-founder. I've been leading global health projects for 8 years, and I have a background in biomedical engineering and computer science. I get to introduce my amazing team, Dr. Kunal Parikh, who's a serial social entrepreneur and has commercialized technologies through Social Innovation Lab, Give, and Idea Medical, as well as Dr. Nakosha Kawat, who's an anterior segment specialist here at Hopkins and has been working in eye care delivery for 18 years. We have some amazing advisors, including David Green, who's a MacArthur Fellow that's really revolutionized eye care delivery in LMICs. Someone gets access to eye care every 9 seconds as a result of one of his innovations. And then Dr. R. Venkatesh is the Chief Medical Officer at Aravind, the largest eye hospital in the world, and it really sets the precedent for what many eye hospitals globally do. And then finally, our team of amazing students here at Hopkins. Ji Young leads our AI, Kamini is a biostatistician, Valerie leads our business development, and Irushi is an AI developer. So I want to bring your attention to your vision very fast. So most of us see the world like this. But imagine trying to navigate the world with your vision clouding and losing your ability to see. This makes it difficult to go to work, to go to school, and to take care of your family. And ultimately, vision loss results in a decreased quality of life, increased morbidity, mortality, and a decreased economic productivity. And this is the case for 1.1 billion people who live with vision loss worldwide. However, 90% of it is treatable if we can just get those patients access to care. 70% of it occurs in the front of the eye from conditions you may have heard of, such as cataract, refractive error, and corneal pathology. And significantly, 1 out of 3 of these people live in India, where the global burden of vision loss is greatest. And that's because there's 91,000 patients for every 1 ophthalmologist. So if we have a disease that affects 1 billion people, but we know it's treatable, the biggest gap here is getting these patients access to the care they need. However, current care pathways fail to reach the most vulnerable patients, and they're usually concentrated in urban areas. This means rural patients can travel over 100 kilometers to reach care. If you think about your grandma and you have to take her to get vision loss, your current options are either to ship her on a bus to the hospital or put her on the back of your motorcycle and drive from here to the equivalent of Philadelphia, only to find out that she needs a cataract surgery. You have to come back once for the surgery and 3 more times for follow-up. Given the cost and logistical constraints of transportation for rural and poor patients, it's no surprise that over 50% of patients are lost to follow-up. In order to address this, hospitals in low and middle income countries have implemented 2 models. First is a technician going door to door in order to provide eye care, and the second is a technician serving at a vision center to provide some primary eye care. However, while the technician's able to determine if the patient has an eye problem or not, they don't always have the skills and training to know what specific problem the patient has and how to treat it, which means a lot of these patients end up being referred to that base hospital 100 kilometers away. Also, there's a very high operational and management burden for the hospital to manage this network of decentralized technicians and also to manage all of the patients, making sure they get the care they need, which ultimately limits the scalability and efficacy of the outreach. Our system enables access to eye screening at scale. We have a mobile imaging modality, which enables you to take clinical grade images using a smartphone. And we have a software platform that equips automated referral, patient integration, and management. This means that a technician can take a picture of the patient's eye using their smartphone. Then our AI algorithms that run on the phone will tell them the diagnosis, whether the patient needs to be referred to the base hospital, and a preliminary treatment plan. Finally, we make sure that the patient can get the care they need by providing dashboards and tools for the hospital to manage these patients and get them into the care system. If we look at our imaging modality, we provide 3 types of imaging all in one device, which means the patient can receive a comprehensive anterior exam similar to what they'd receive in a clinic. In a study of over 1,000 images, 95% of them were clinical grade images after just 15 minutes of training, and it's compatible with accessible smartphones in India. Here you can see the same eye imaged by an iPhone, one of our $5,000 competitors, and our device. And consistently, our device is both easier to use, produces better quality photos, and is more affordable in the markets we're targeting. We've also protected this device, both the hardware to image and the software we use. So we've protected over 30 parameters that we use to obtain high quality images of eye disease in diverse patients. And here you can see one of them showing the importance of a lighting configuration. The software works similarly to a mobile checking deposit that you would use at your bank. So we let the technician know when the eye is ready to capture and make sure that we get a high quality image every time. Our software platform enables real-time diagnosis and referral of anterior segment disease. We're able to use AI algorithms that run offline on the smartphone, so we make sure that you can get access to a diagnosis anywhere. We also have already integrated with 2 of the most commonly used electronic health record systems in India, and we automate referral for patients by sending WhatsApp or SMS reminders, giving them information about their disease, and making sure that they know how they can get the treatment they need. We've developed this system iteratively with 3 of the largest eye hospitals in the world, where we've partnered and been able to screen over 8,000 patients. Through this screening, we've developed a proprietary image database of 14,000 images, which is the largest in the world, and has enabled us to develop these novel AI algorithms to screen for the leading causes of blindness. We also completed a 1,200 patient study where we compared the diagnostic concordance of an in-person exam to an exam made using our eye images and achieved a 93% concordance in diagnosis. And so far, we're the only group developing algorithms for the front of the eye, which is where that 70% of blindness occurs, because those data sets don't currently exist. We also make sure that this can be utilized in the field by guaranteeing over 90% clinical grade imaging, integrating those patients into the care system. And right now, we're one of the only platforms priced for broad affordability in the markets where care is most needed. So we're able to increase access to care while also improving operational efficiency and cost effectiveness. We move care closer to patients' home and enable access to high quality care, which also consequently drives revenue through hospitals through surgical reimbursement for procedures that they're already getting paid for from the government. We also improve the capital and operational efficiency, and we improve integration with the care system. All of this is important to enable decentralized and de-skilled access to eye screening at scale. In order to make this product accessible, there's currently no regulatory pathway in India for this. However, predicate devices have shown that you can get market share through high quality clinical validation in peer-reviewed journals. However, in order to drive adoption both in the public sector in India and in the US, we're planning on obtaining FDA clearance. This consists of a 510(k) exempt pathway for the image hardware, which will enable us a rapid path to hardware sales, as well as a Class 2 clearance for the image software. And this has been done previously by 3 different ophthalmic diagnosis companies here in the US. We make money by selling our hardware to hospitals, so it's priced competitively. We have different pricing for the US and the Indian markets, but even at that lowest price tier, we guarantee an 80% gross profit margin. And then we have a recurring software subscription for the software. We've priced it to make sure that the hospitals achieve a return on investment through those conversions to reimbursable procedures. So for example, our entry-level tier includes 1,000 screenings. We've priced it so that it's profitable after 100 screenings due to the average conversion rate to cataract and eyeglasses. And we also have adjustable tiers based on higher hospital volume. We've already seen a willingness to pay, as over 2,000 centers in India have adopted algorithms for the back of the eye. However, we know that the front of the eye diagnoses and procedures are both more common and profitable for hospitals, and we've seen a larger willingness to pay there. Our beachhead market is focused on the 5 highest volume eye hospitals in India. We're already implemented at 3 of these, and these represent the customers with the highest lifetime customer value. We plan to directly expand into 57 hospitals who we've identified are directly mentored by our beachhead market, and therefore are going to be most willing to adopt this quickly. And that represents a $14.3 million annual revenue opportunity. Finally, if we look at all of India, there's an opportunity for 247 million in annual revenue as a result of the 330 million patients who have untreated vision loss. We've also identified a huge need here in the US for access to eye care, as there's patients located in rural areas, senior living facilities, and emergency departments where there's a lack of access to eye specialists. This represents a $1.2 billion market for the older adult and rural screening markets. We're well poised to generate early cash flow through sales of our imaging hardware here in the US and in India. We're working on a FDA clearance by Q3 of 2025. We're planning to start our validation of AI here in the next coming months and complete that by the end of next year, which will poise us to sell this to hospitals in India and eventually go through FDA clearance of the algorithm to enable market expansion in the US as well as LMICs. We're raising $1.4 million to facilitate this development, regulatory clearance, with a plan to break even by Q2 of 2027 based on sales to those high volume customers in our beachhead market. Today we're seeking $20,000.
Sorry to interrupt you. We are at 10 minutes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
just
Thank you so much.
I apologize. Sorry, do you want to finish? Do you have any last points you want to highlight?
Yeah, we're just seeking $20,000 today to support the clinical validation in India, as well as to consult regulatory for clearance of the imaging hardware and to start that process. And that's all. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Boy, this is we're gonna get to voting shortly. I am not looking forward to making a selection. These have been fabulous. Colleen, do you want to offer some quick thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, I agree. These have all been awesome presentations. Jordan, I loved your presentation and what a beautiful mission and really trying to meet an unmet need. And I thought you did. I like that you put your team early on. I might just flip the vision slide that you had, literally the vision slide, and then put the team afterwards because you jumped into the team and without us knowing like really what the product was or what you're trying to build. And so I think I might just flip those. Again, I think you did a great job of demonstrating the unmet need. I think between the unmet need and then your solution, there's an opportunity to talk about like, why now? What's the big opportunity now? And it really is around kind of, I think, phone technologies and the fact that you've got a camera that you can actually capitalize on. It would be helpful to know in India how many people actually have the smartphones that would be able to take advantage of the product. I had a question around IP, kind of how hard is it to copy? I definitely get that you've got the AI software that's going to be constantly improving. But since this is just an add-on to a phone, it would be helpful to get a little bit more, I think, meat on the bones around the IP protection. And then probably the biggest thing is really thinking about the go-to-market strategy. I think that you've got a huge opportunity to do good in the world with the population in India. And you might consider, and then you've got the US where you've also got opportunity with people that can really afford and pay for this. So you might consider copying what Tom's Shoes did, which is that for everybody in the US that buys one, they can donate one to India as like a way to be a mission-based company and keep that front and center, even for all of your customers. And I think that in the US, I would just think a little bit more deeply about that market opportunity, because that's going to be where your real monetization, I think, can come into play. You know, kids, aging, all of that, I think are great target audiences. But that's how I might consider building a profitable company and also really living out your mission. But it was an awesome presentation. Excited about the product.
Yeah, thank you so much, Colleen.
And Gayathri, if I could just ask, we are going to do a very quick voting in the interest of time. So if folks could make sure to be thinking about who you're going to vote for, we're going to have about 1 minute to vote after Gayathri offers her comments.
Okay, great. Jordan, this is super interesting. I think, ultimately this becomes a large access play. Some parallels you might want to look at, I think we're moving in this direction for blood pressure monitoring as well, right? Where people are actually able to use their smartphone. So I think that there's this overall trend you can talk about in your presentation too, about smartphone access and monitoring that's just blowing up these markets in very, very different ways. I think, it would be helpful. I know in India, there are some pretty sophisticated foundations that work on this. I think Shankara Eye Foundation, it would be interesting to know and differentiate, similar to what Colleen was saying, how this is a venture business versus a public health business versus a nonprofit, right? I think having a bit more that go-to-market and the financials in there would be helpful. I think you've tied it in a very interesting way to the upstream surgical volume, and that is definitely a very unique play. So overall, I thought it was really interesting, groundbreaking technology. The other thing, one other is starting in India, I assume gives you access to AI opportunity because of just the large volume. And perhaps that is part of your play to be able to get that and be able to refine those algorithms before you approach the US market, perhaps. But I think talking a little bit about why you might be pursuing certain markets over others before or later would be helpful. So great job.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're cranking here. We're going to go ahead and launch the poll. Again, congratulations. A lot of work went into these projects and pitches. So 3 winners, however the voting turns out.
By the end of the time.
Okay, we have about 76% participation. %89 of votes are in. 94%. Okay, 11 of you stepped away to eat lunch. Come back, vote, please. Okay, while those votes are being tallied, Poppy, could we ask you, this is last year's winner of Pitch It On, could we ask you to give us a brief update of your project?
Of course. I just voted. It was very hard. Um, okay. So I'd like to thank our presenters for the very inspiring presentation. I was very much inspired. My name is Poppy Wang. I am the CSO and co-founder of Sera Neurotherapeutics, and I'm a former grad student at Hopkins. So I'm here to share with you the progress we've made during the past year and announce a new winner. During last year's event, we were very lucky to be connected to Dan, who is currently serving as the CEO of our company. So Sera Neurotherapeutics, we are a iPSC-derived human sensory neuron discovery platform for non-opioid pain medicines. So the other two co-founders of our team are Dr. Xinzhong Dong and Dr. Gabson Lee, bringing together expertise in pain and stem cell biology. So we have been supported up to date by non-dilutive funding from Maryland Stem Cell Research Foundation, NIH, and of course the pitch event. So we have used the pitch money for company formation, SBIR grant writing, which we're submitting in January 2025, and securing an exclusive option from JHTV. We've also welcomed 4 esteemed members to our clinical and scientific advisory boards. Nicole Polk, the CEO, founder, and president of Siren Biotechnology. Mahendra Rao, the CSO of Vita Therapeutics. Cindy Chai, the Fellowship Director of UCSF Center for Pain Medicine, and James Campbell, the President and CSO of Centrexion Therapeutics. So our platform enhances the understanding of pain and has already produced 2 very promising biologics. COMS is a gene therapy that silences pain at the periphery, and SNP is a very novel cell therapy that intercepts pain signals in the periphery and promotes bone remodeling in osteoarthritis. So both platforms are currently in the preclinical development stage, and we're quickly moving on to testing in non-human primates. So now we are raising our seed round. We've secured a $2 million investment already, and we're hoping to close our seed by end of this year. So yeah, that's my update from last year. And okay, so the results are in. I am humbled to announce the winner of this year is Mary Austin. Congratulations, Mary.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna get a little choked up. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone for being here and supporting this event, which I think is wonderful. So thank you so much.
Congratulations, Mary, to you and to all the teams that presented. This was such a great event. Really appreciate everyone being here. A special thank you to Gayathri and to Colleen. Don't forget to check out their companies too, Devon and Pendulum. And everyone enjoy Women's Entrepreneurship Day. Call your favorite female entrepreneur. They probably need a pep talk. I can tell you that from experience. Hope everyone has a great day. Thank you.